my friend, you had better go and get a pen. And maybe we can keep in touch like we did in the old days. It wasn't so long ago. And I wish you well. Sign your pen pal.
We did it
I don't know what to do with my hands.
We did it again.
What?
I said they, and you said we.
I never
Like they did in the old days, and you go, like we did in the old days.
I don't know.
Do you always love that, too?
Yeah.
Yo, remember, because you were in church choir.
Yeah.
The people who were like, and you're going to want to do this, and you're going to want to.
Yeah.
It's where have
you're
you
like-
gone? Where have you gone?
And as a kid,
it's
you're
where have
like,
you gone?
yeah, as a kid, you're like, all right, cut it out.
What is there?
All right, what are you doing?
What is is that Wayne David Gruffman? I'm seeing right here, and you're not really with me right now. You're not on. Is that no?
I don't think so.
There's some movie. I would do that wherever I pulled that from.
Yeah.
I lifted it to do when I would do I like bananas. I
Yeah.
like banana, and I would go. I'm kind of right here right now, and you guys aren't. And people, because everybody knows that, like,
Yeah.
oh, and we're singing here, and they do it until you fucking
Yeah, and you're like, and, and you're crying.
Oh, I love it.
Mic stands. This is
How
episode
do you
2
feel?
with mic stands.
How do you feel?
I don't know what to do.
We could like hold hands.
I love it. I love the mic stands.
What if this is how we did the show, and then when we have a guest, we're like, you're gonna need to.
And just kind of pretend that you're on a roller coaster and now you're locked in. When our elbows snap, that means
so
you're safe.
funny.
Folks, we got big plans for this
You're
show.
gonna see this space grow and
This
evolve.
is
You
going
might
to
be
grow and
catching a piece
change.
of
You're
the-
going to see some decor. There's stuff you can't see right now, but Daniel hung these sound things in here. So if you're listening and you're like,
did it
wow, the
together.
sound quality seems like it's stepped up a little bit.
Hopefully.
That's because that's what we're trying to do. It's going to get stepped up even more.
Everything is.
It's all going to
We
keep
stepped up
improving.
the Patreon.
This is a new show now. It's
a-
old bones.
It's like
You know, it's like it's a house with old bones, and
like
someone's
Super
like, "I'm gonna
Saiyan.
get some new. I'm gonna get some new kitchen appliances."
Did you know? I realized the other day when I was like, I remember loathing when like Uncle Ken would watch This Old House, and now I'm like, ooh, This Old House.
I know. But
What
you have
is
to
that?
you grow into those things.
I had a joke.
I was like
years
that
and
with
years
golf.
ago. Yeah,
I don't want to fucking.
I had a
golf.
joke
Now I
years
can
and years ago.
watch
I was
it
like,
for
you
hours.
start becoming an adult when you go to a person's house and appreciate like curtains.
And
Like,
you're
these
not,
are
and
nice-
you're not doing it to fill the air. You're literally like, I like these curtains.
These are nice curtains. This is a nice couch.
Yeah.
You're like, well, you're not a kid anymore.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
start noticing those things.
Right.
But the sooner you get to that, not in the sense of losing your innocence or being like, don't grow up too fast.
Yeah.
To me, the sooner you get to that, the more life you're living.
Oh, because everything is impacting.
Because all of it, to have that awareness, to go, oh, this is a nice chair. It's like you hear like an 11-year-old say that, you're like, yeah, you're going to do just fine. You're already paying attention to what you like and what you
what
want, how
if
you
an
want things to
11-year-old
be.
is like, hey, Rory, I really like these chairs. This is a nice
How
chair.
much are we talking? I'm like, all right, that's...
Low ball.
They
Low
were
ball.
free.
Ballpark me. Ballpark me on it.
Lissa's got a little gift for us here.
I
she
think
wants us
a
to see.
listener has a little gift.
Yeah, that's been passed via
Okay,
via
we
Lissa.
talked about we talked about people getting cameos
Yeah.
to help us promote the show.
Do you guys remember that? Because we
It's such a bit.
well, this came from our
Yeah, what did it come
Christmas
out?
episode where the guy was going to go visit his mom. There were medical
Yeah,
issues,
yeah,
and his
yeah,
mom's
yeah.
boyfriend
Yes.
also medical issues. So he's trying to figure out how to make it work. And then I think in the Patreon, we talk about it in the Patreon. He wrote us back on what he ended up doing for Christmas.
Yeah, he sent the kids.
But during that episode, Daniel and I had told people. Daniel said, "Get a cameo of like Sylvester Stallone
As
for
a joke.
As
oh,
a
for
joke.
her, for his mom. Yes.
Yeah, but then we were like, people should pay the
is a
cameos so that people start advertising pen pals, right?
right.
And
Diana did it.
calendar. It's weird to call someone Calendar Diana.
Diana.
It's weird to put calendar before it though.
I know, and some people would think that that's a little, I don't want to say disparaging, but to me it makes it warmer.
Well, I
'Cause
think
that's our-
I think
she's-
everyone can identify like, oh yeah, she made
She's
calendars.
our calendar girl.
She's our calendar girl who has made
Whose
3 or
song is
4
that?
calendars.
I'm in
3, I
love
guess.
with a calendar girl.
I don't
Cinnamon girl. Neil Young. What's wrong with me? Okay, so, but hopefully that was parody and we don't get sued.
And someone cameo Neil Young and see if he'll do a cameo.
California girl, cinnamon girl. Okay, So we have not watched this.
Nope.
Diana is also amazing.
Yep. she made
up in the Bay
calendars.
Area, comes to so many great shows.
She
I've
made
known her for
calendars,
years.
which is crazy.
Okay.
She's amazing.
So we're gonna watch this, and I imagine if you're on YouTube, it'll be playing.
Yeah.
You already know.
We'll play. No, I just looked over. This will play on YouTube right now.
Okay, here we go.
Hey there, it's Mayor Goldie Wilson and his sidekick, Lil Goldie. And we're reaching out to the fans of the Pen Pals podcast. You know, Daniel and Rory's podcast. Wanted to say that if you want to write them a letter, that you should send your mail to 5419 Hollywood Boulevard, Suite C, number 121. That's Los Angeles, California, 90027. Or we can use the internet at thepenpals@gmail.com. Daniel and Rory, thank you. Look forward to hearing from you.
I mean, it's the Pen Pals pod, but
That was Mayor Goldie
I
Wilson.
know.
You're gonna be mayor one
How
day.
do you feel?
Mayor.
How do you feel? But
You can
first of all,
start by sweeping the floor. I'm gonna clean up this town. You can start by sweeping the floor.
don't you kind of want to see if he'll do the show?
Let's get Mayor Goldie Wilson on. Let's try to get everyone from both our favorite movies
Well,
on
I
this
can't.
show. We can get Biff. Or yeah, we can get Biff. I'm gonna try
Who
to get
could
Biff.
we get from Stand By Me?
I'm gonna try to get Tom Wilson.
You
Stand
are?
By Me. Who could we get?
Maybe Will. Maybe Will Wheaton. Who?
Who?
What?
Jerry O'Connell.
Just say it. I
She
know, but
said-
say it so I can hear you. Who? You know what? I'm all of a sudden so mad. I don't know why I sounded
Why are you
like
mad
that.
at Lissa?
Because I love when she does, and I wanted to hear it, and then I was more mad at myself for not catching it.
Jerry O'Connell.
Yeah,
Jerry O'Care.
Jerry O'Connell would be phenomenal.
Jerry O'Care. All right. Well, let's work
okay,
on that. We'll work on it.
Let's just first of all, Diana.
Diana,
That
you're
is
crazy.
such a great cut.
Yeah.
To have it be one of the
Yeah.
people from Rory's favorite movie.
Yeah.
And did you lit up for
Yeah.
the listeners who you can also go to YouTube, but the listeners who see when you realize who it is, and he has a little Goldie.
He got a little Goldie.
Oh my God! So
And little Goldie.
we're
back
gonna
here.
put that on social media because it's promoting the show.
Yeah.
We're getting help from him, Diana. I wonder what
That's
he charges.
amazing.
I know.
That's amazing. So if anyone else wants to do that,
No pressure.
our audience like, so you guys are tricking us into paying for your
Also-
advertising? We're not tricking you. We're calling it out.
Yeah. Also, understand we have so many ambitions and things we want to do. I would hate if we got like 10 cameos and people were like, well, they never talked about mine on the air. And I would feel bad.
We'd probably put them all on the YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll put them all on the social media no matter what.
All over the place.
But
that's going to get
I love-
posted very soon. That's going to
know.
get posted for this episode.
100%.
God, this is so meta. We're talking about it. And it's in the past, but we're talking about the future,
Well,
which
it's
when
our
someone
people.
hears it will be the now,
It's our
and this will be the past. And that's what Back to the Future's about, dude.
Oh, there you go. But it's I love our pennies and our pallers and our pen and pals.
Pens and pals, you guys are the best. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Should
you
we
wanna
do it?
go? Yeah,
Should we
yeah.
go?
Mhm.
Let's go to the letters.
It is.
Folks.
Yes. Okay, what are we
This is how I
doing?
get our listeners' attention.
I love our
Folks.
letters.
What do you think people listen to this the most? Like, if you did a poll, Shanley, what do you think
Letters
it is?
I
Do you
read?
think it's like
Oh.
in the car, headphones,
Where?
in this space, at home? What do you think it is? Like, what are the different places you're probably listening to a podcast? While traveling?
I think Wednesday morning, most people put it on when they're getting ready for work.
Oh, you think
or,
right
like,
out of the gate?
starting They wake up and like, I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to put pen pals on.
Okay,
I'm gonna
yeah.
do my makeup and hair.
Oh, I
and
love
I'm gonna
that.
Put pen pals on. I think that is for a lot of people.
Like morning radio.
It's their Wednesday morning radio.
I love
yes.
that.
And then I think for other people, I bet if you're someone who's more like me, it's anytime I'm in the car, so they're piecemealing it,
Yeah.
or going to bed.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All right.
So I gave 3. I don't know, but I would say the first one is the most.
I think you're probably right.
Thanks.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've got a letter here. Just checking if I can say names. Always check. Also, if you're a new listener to the show, let us know
Can we
your
assume-
preferred pronoun, and also let us know if we can say your name or not. If you don't mention it,
I'm
we
gonna
assume you don't
can.
mind that we
Right.
say
If
it.
you put a name, we're going to say whatever name you put at the end of the letter.
And if you specifically are like, hey, I wrote something juicy, and I know somebody
Change-
listens,
it's on you.
and I
Change
don't
the
want to,
name.
you got to change
It
the
was
name.
on you to
or
know
gotta
the
tell
email
us.
address. It was on you to know the address. I
gotta
think
tell
you can
us.
take ownership of that.
You
too.
got to tell us. Here we go. Dear Pen Pals.
Or
Good
don't. We're
start.
gonna think you
Peaceful.
did.
Peaceful. Dear Pen Pals.
Yeah.
I hope you had a wonderful new year and are staying safe. A few months ago, I ran a trail race in the Appalachian Mountains. There was a point in the race at mile 20-something, where I was deep in the woods, completely alone, wading through waist-deep water. At that point, you got to be wondering, did I lose the trail?
I don't. Well, have you done Zion?
No,
The
but
Shallows?
I know it's all this stuff. But
Same
if
thing.
you're by
Yeah,
yourself in the woods,
Guys?
in the water, guys, this
I haven't seen an orange flag
I-
in a long time.
where is this right? Is this right?
Can I say, because you know me,
Is this right?
and I know what you got me for Christmas, and you also probably know what you got me for Christmas.
I do know what I got you.
I knew you'd want to read this letter.
Oh yeah, because of that.
Oh, just us, and like me too.
Wading through waist-deep water and watching little fish swim by me. My legs were aching so bad. My ill-fitting pack had bruised my back. I still had several miles to go, and yet somehow I was so happy.
Nice.
I remember looking down at these fish and thinking, this is real. I'm on an adventure, and this is really happening. I felt like a wild animal. As someone who struggles with anxiety, it was probably one of the few times, or maybe even only time, in my life when I felt fully in the moment. A few days later, still flying high from my weekend, I was stacking cans of beans on a shelf, and when suddenly the weirdest feeling came over me, everything just felt off. My hand was not stacking cans. There was no way I was here. I'm a wild animal in the forest, not a human with a job. It was like one moment I was on a crazy adventure, then next thing I knew I was doing the most mundane thing on the planet and it didn't make any sense. This feeling has long since passed and I'm back to being a normal human. I'm not sure what that was, but I do know I want more of it and will continue to chase it by running stupid long distances through the woods. Have you ever felt something similar? Maybe you were having an experience outside the norm, then go back into regular life and it just doesn't feel right anymore. Your pal, Julia, #LiveYourBest Simulation. And you know what? This letter ends with a song for our playlist. So if you are new to the Pen Pals community, a long time ago, I want to say 2 years ago, something
Also,
like that.
go back and listen.
Yeah, we had mentioned that we were going to do a playlist of our community's favorite music and songs. And so Emily Cox has been taking all these songs and adding them to that playlist, which I think is just called the Pen Pals playlist
On Spotify.
Pen Pals podcast playlist. If you look it up on Spotify, you'll find it. But a song for the playlist, Short Change Hero by The Heavy. It makes me feel like a badass trekking through the desert.
Also,
Julia, thank you.
It might be linked via Instagram, like if we have a link tree on there. I can't even remember right now if we do.
Yeah.
But it might
I think
be,
that's true.
It might be there.
Yeah. Instagram link tree. Go there and you'll find our playlist. Oh,
Rory,
man, I have
do
so
it.
much about
Tell
this.
me.
So much about it. So much about
I do too,
discovering
but I
that
want
Zen, that Zen space and how strange it sometimes is. One thing that jumps out at me in this letter when she says, you know, it was one of the first times, if not only time, I ever really felt like I was living in the moment. I think there's a part of me that always assumes that is something you can accomplish with practice, figuring out how to live in the moment and figuring out. But I think what I'm learning as I get older is that they are very rare instances where we aren't mentally in the past or the future and actually in the now, feeling the now, thinking about the now, and not allowing our perspective of the moment, our opinion of the moment, our perception of the moment to dominate our thoughts that we're not in the moment. Does that make sense?
Rory, you're 130. You're 130 yards out from the pin.
From what?
The pin.
Okay, yeah.
You're using a what? 5-iron? I have no idea.
Nope, I'm using a pitching wedge.
Pitching wedge.
Yeah.
You swing from the moment you're coming forward towards the ball.
Yeah.
Connect and you see it leave. What else are you thinking about?
Exactly. But I think that's what I love about golf, because
I love about all of it.
When you're standing
what is
over
the
it,
guy in the outfield watching the ball come down to him? What else is he thinking about other than there's a ball? I got to catch the ball.
yeah.
You're
So
just there.
this is what, for me, that's not always the case, because the point in that moment of golf, for instance, is to empty your mind and kind of be like, oh wait, all the things I've practiced and worked on and I know I'm supposed to do, take that deep breath and just let them all happen without trying to make them happen or think about it. And when you can do that, it is pure bliss.
What about when you're just watching the ball? You've already swung.
It's when you watch it and you go, oh, I hit that right. And you know when you connect with the ball about the
Even
distance.
with the wrong way. Are you thinking about bills? Even if
No,
you're watching
no,
it go
no.
towards the trees, aren't you just in the moment with wherever that ball is going?
You're in it, and it's what's so interesting is that when the ball, as soon as you hit it, and we're talking about the ball has to fly 130 yards.
Sure.
But as soon as you make contact, it's so interesting that very quickly you can go get down, knowing I've hit that past 130 yards because of just feeling the muscle memory.
Right.
Or if you caught the ground a little bit, you can go short. It's gonna be short. Like you just know. And I'm not talking about
But you know what you're
chunking
not?
it. I mean
You know-
literally just
You know what
being
you're not
clean.
thinking about? Dinner.
Yeah.
You know what you're not thinking about? The argument you had with your daughter before you left the house.
Right.
You know, you're not thinking about somebody you've lost. You're just there.
But
I'm not
if
saying it
you-
isn't affecting your day or your
but
swing. It
but
might be.
There is a world where what's interesting to me is that when you're like, man, what is going on? It's because you are in those spaces and you're not just here
And we
with
do
your
it
club
on-
and the ball
But
and
we
the
do it on
outside.
stage too, right?
Well, that's what I want. That's
At
what I
Largo,
want to get
when
to.
you turned the lights off and you were at the piano,
Yeah,
were you thinking about
I wanted
your
to stay
friend
there.
who passed away?
I wanted to stay
Were
there
you
so
thinking
bad.
were you thinking about where your car was parked?
There,
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's people say like, "Oh, is it?" I know you're really stressed these days, and I'm not these days, and
Yeah.
not any more than normal. But
Yeah.
I just mean people are like, "Is it hard to do a show?" Or I go, "No, that's." Can
Yeah.
I just can I move up there?
Yeah.
Can I just move onto the stage for a couple days?
This is what is my favorite thing about stand up, and this can happen anytime, and you can control it, but it sort of happens or starts to happen in your career, and you don't know how it happened or what it is. But in doing those improvised shows in Atlanta, I found that because the constraint was that I didn't know what I was going to talk about, it meant that everything was this blank canvas and I didn't know where it was going to go. And so because of that, your brain actually can't go into these other spaces.
That's why I love being
but it
bad at
can-
guitar. My
it-
brain can't go anywhere
Right.
other than trying to hit this chord.
But it can go into a space of, oh, I'm not the energy right now, or this or that. And it's what's interesting to me is that you find yourself paying attention to the wrong things and getting stuck in it. Like if you say something and it's not funny, like you're doing an hour and it is written. It is a written hour. You already know how it's going to go. You can do it without doing it.
Sure.
And a joke doesn't land the way it's landed 4,000 times, and it just doesn't land. You're still in autopilot doing the show, and you can't stop thinking about why that didn't land. And because of that, you're not in this moment with this other stuff that maybe could be glorious, to where someone leaves and goes, yeah, that one joke didn't work, but the very next one was the best joke I've ever heard in my life. And you wouldn't know it because you can't get past the thing that didn't work. And to me, it's what I love about golf. That, let's say you do hit a bad 130-yard shot that goes over the green. If you can't stop thinking about it, you keep going up there, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I fucking did it. Your next shot is not going to be good. Your next shot's not going to be
Remember
good.
Last Dance? This is what they said is probably one of the greatest attributes of Michael Jordan.
Right, the
is
forgetting.
He no idea. The score doesn't matter when he takes the shot. How
Yeah.
many he's missed doesn't matter. He's living
Yeah.
in that Pearl Jam song,
moment.
present tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is something I love about this, because finding that Zen moment, it's so difficult to do, but when you can do it, and I found it recently with painting, where I had music going and I was in my thoughts so much, I wasn't paying attention to what I was actually doing here, and I was just letting this be what it is, and not by a conscious choice. And then the moment I noticed I was doing it, I go, oh, I got to remember to do that. I haven't been back to that space since, because I'm trying to get to it. So first off, congratulations for getting to that Zen moment. And the reason you got to a moment where you said, oh, I was living in the moment maybe for the only time in my life, remember that you got there by not trying to get there. And also you got there by deciding to go on a crazy fucking run through the woods.
20-something miles.
20-something
I wish my
miles
knees could do that.
where you knew you were going to have to carry a backpack, wade through water, and be in the woods alone, and you still said yes to it. And because you did, you found yourself in a space of going, oh, fuck, I'm in heaven.
Right,
I'm in bliss right now.
Right.
You did that for yourself.
Can I talk about this letter from a little bit other angle
Yeah.
that it struck me as? When Julia was like, the weirdest feeling came over me. Everything just felt off. My hand was not stacking cans. There's no way I was here. I'm a wild animal in the forest, not a human with a job. And you know what that made me think of is The Hurt Locker. Do you remember that movie?
I never saw it, but I do remember
so
it.
Jeremy Renner diffuses bombs
Yeah.
in the Middle
Iraq,
East.
right?
Yeah. And yeah, it is Iraq. And I'm pretty sure there's a scene where he's back home on leave after a tour.
Yeah.
and he's in the grocery store and he's being asked what type of cereal they want, and you can see him be like, what? Like, who the fuck cares
Right.
about cereal? So he almost gets his at home place is the tension and stress and adrenaline of being out there trying to defuse a bomb.
Right.
And so to me, I think that like that's a little bit of like this civilization of like, oh, well, we're gonna go down the store and pick a cereal. He's like, oh, do you know which route we should take?
Yeah.
Is there a rock that was there that wasn't there yesterday? Like all that. He's just like, we're just gonna go get fucking cereal.
Right. Yeah.
And so I felt some of that when Julia was saying like, I'm putting up these cans, being like, what the fuck am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
here's a can of beans. Whereas if 4 days ago, if I got stuck out there and wanted to eat, I better find something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that putting yourself in those situations can be exhilarating. It can sometimes be like you have to make sure you don't get too lost into that, like Jeremy Renner's character does in that movie. But
I think that's what I like about that moment, like being like, oh, I'm putting cans on this thing. Like, to me, there's also something zen about that, and I think there's also something poetically beautiful about our lives.
That. She's like, this isn't me.
I know, but I think that's what I love so much about the opportunities that we have in our life as adaptive human beings, is that one minute you can go, oh, out here I found this blissful thing doing this. I mean, there's a world where Julia goes, you know what, I'm going to put on a backpack and I'm going to go up into the mountains because that's where I found the thing. But because it's not a race, she might be like, oh, well, actually, I guess the race matters.
Yeah, I would say that the race got her there, but it's really now she feels like an animal. Do you know what they say we don't, like when you walk, all you're doing is a series of falls and then catching yourself. Walking is falling. You're constantly falling and you catch yourself. It's why people get older or things like that they do fall because their body can no longer maintain all that muscle control. And so the same has been said about us as humans. The only thing that separates from the animals is a constant feeling of that we have to be.
Yeah.
So we have to put on clothes. I need to live in a house. I have to go buy Thai food. And so we do all those things, but really we're just constantly catching ourselves from falling into
hashtag I have to go buy Thai food.
I was wondering. And so... And which is why you see things like this show Yellow Jackets, which we're not going to talk about, or Lord of the Flies, which I would love to talk about, where you once it all gets stripped away, you're like, oh, we're just animals.
Yes.
And the strongest and smartest of us will rule. Yeah. And that's and we determine that through violence or cunning or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So that also like struck me too, where Julie was like, yeah, I was like, I was just an animal, and now I'm a can stacker.
And now I'm stacking cans. But that's, I think and I know the mundanity, is that a word?
I love it.
Mundanity of that. If that's not, that's going to be the title of my next album.
Hashtag.
Mundanity. Hashtag mundanity. But in that of being like, oh, wait, I don't like this. I don't want to be doing this. This isn't what I do. To me, doing that is what makes you recognize the other thing. To me, eliminating the stacking cans makes it harder for you to realize that you want to be wading through water, being dirty, doing this other thing. And I think that's why all things have this balance. And to me, that true peaceful state. And I feel like it has been the place I've tried to get to and still trying to get to constantly in my life. Is saying, well, in the mundanity of doing these things, how is that still art? How is that still this place where you can go, I'm in this space? How is putting on your clothes and what you're deciding to wear going to be this space of like, well, this is what it's going to be, and I have to run these errands, but do I have to run these? I had a joke in my act about getting high to do chores and errands, because then they are still the same thing. Right. It's just your perception of them is different. Like getting high, this is all in the joke, but getting high to go to the grocery store is such an incredible experience because you're like, well, I have these things on my list and I have to go get them.
But when you go and you're high, you say, this is a space where they have all this food.
And
if I want to eat Italian food, I could buy Italian food. I'm not saying that is your high, but it is, you see it from a whole different angle. It's like when people get on mushrooms and stuff and they're like, and the trees.
Perception.
And they start being like these trees, all they do is give us life.
Yeah.
And provide us with shelter and shade. And you'd be like, yeah, the high made you look at it from a different way.
And I think when there is like this, and this is why I would even say this for alcohol and booze, like it's just changing perception. And to me, in my own experiences, why I'm drawn to pot or mushrooms to a degree over drinking is because drinking has never changed my perception in a positive way. It's never changed my perception to where I saw things differently. It changed my ability to open up to somebody.
That's what I was going to say.
And maybe
Does it make
tell
you do
them
the,
something
I
that has
love
been,
you, or I miss you,
something
or...
that's been difficult to do. It has done that. And pot has also done that.
But would you say that it's more of, alcohol is more of a release of emotion? Not that mushrooms and acid or whatever can't be, but like it's more of a release of emotion because it makes you drop your guard. Whereas a psychedelic or mind altering drug is literally what I just said.
Yeah.
It's a mind altering. So your perspective on something goes to a different place. Not the I never talk about losing my uncle. Like, then like you get it out.
Well, I think it's also the culture of it. Like, for instance, Daniel wants to have a beer. There are so many different versions of how you can do that.
Sure.
And you might go, my favorite...
That's why people say, why are we drinking? Why are we drinking tonight?
Yeah. And if you were like, well, the way that I want to have a drink tonight is you go, well, I want to have this kind of drink, and I want to have it at the cabin, and I want 10 of my friends to be there.
Come on.
That's having a drink. But having a drink is also, I'm by myself at this bar. I don't know anyone. The vibe is very aggressive and super alpha, and the football game is on. Some people go, that's where I like to have my drink. Mm-hmm. And the same is true with pot. Someone's like, I like to be by myself. I like to be in the woods with 5 people around a campfire. I like to be blah, blah, blah. You could be so many. I like to be at the grocery store. Mm-hmm. But to me, it's all just perception of what you gain from those atmospheres and those experiences. And that's why the mundanity of going to the grocery store high. Now, I'm obviously saying high. I'm not talking about the natural feeling of running through the woods. Yeah. But high at the grocery store, you might walk around and realize the absurdity of the grocery store as a thing that you accept as a thing simply because you grew up where another adult that you love and trusted told you this is where you go to get food that you pay for. And so there's no part of you that thinks it's wildly strange to do that in any capacity. And also because in our childhood, and think about this from Rosemary's perspective. Our childhood, the things that are at the grocery store have sort of been at the grocery store in terms of pretty much unhealthy since we were little kids. Imagine what the grocery store was to Rosemary versus what it is now. She's like, well, going to the grocery store for me is genuinely as close as I will ever get to landing on the International Space Station because what the fuck is even for sale at the grocery store? Because what I was used to was not even trash. You bought something that you were going to reuse for whatever purpose. Once you were done with those coffee beans, you weren't throwing that away. That was your piggy bank. I'm obviously exaggerating, but you know what I mean? Yeah. Or you went over to the meat counter, or even then, or you went to get your vegetables.
It was literally like dry goods, produce, and meat.
Yeah, and I didn't go Oscar Myers, and I didn't go, Sunkist, and I didn't know all of these labels and brands and art and like attractions to these things. This is just what it was. And for me, I think Julia maximized that moment of zen in the woods because Julia has maximized that moment of discomfort in this other place where she's like, well, I guess I'm a normal human being here. Well, it sort of took that to awaken you to the fact that you like being in the woods. But if you were only out in the woods, you might go, my zen place is at the meat market at the grocery store because I never even experienced I snapped into a weird zone and I fucking loved it. So for me, what I am getting at in all of this is figuring out how to live in those moments and not allow, most of our lives is chores and mundanity and things we don't want to fucking do. Right. It's about switching that perception to going, yeah, but how can all these things be enjoyable? How can traffic be something else? How can going to this thing I don't want to go to be a thing? I don't know really where I'm going with this whole point, but to me, it's like, this is someone who struggles with anxiety, and in varying degrees, that's a relative thing to all of us, a relevant thing to all of us, struggling with anxiety. to me, it's like, oh, you were out in the woods by yourself and you found a thing. To me, it's like, try to find that thing everywhere.
Yeah.
And be open to it and figure out, well, how do I get to that space? My personal opinion, and I'm not a professional, it's just figuring out perception of these things we're doing and moments we're living in.
I agree. Can I ask you before we leave this?
Yeah.
I know we've already gone a little long, but I wanted to ask you anyway. When Julia says, have you ever felt something similar? Maybe you were having an experience outside the norm and you go back to regular life and it just doesn't feel right. Have you ever had any sort of culture shock? I think I've talked about my one. I wish I had another one, but at the other time, I think this is my one because it was so jarring. It was when I spent, not our Mardi Gras, when I spent like 3 days at Mardi Gras in Soulard, Missouri, which is basically St. Louis. And it was like 3 days of just insanity.
Yeah.
Just like
Partying and stuff.
Partying and sex and not sex like I'm having sex, but like it was just the atmosphere.
Lustful vibe.
Oh my God, man.
Yeah.
And it was just it was out of control and it was like nonstop and everybody knew why everybody else was there to like just party and rage and have fun. And I remember driving back to Chicago after it and really feeling like a sea change, like of like, oh yeah, what were we like? Why did we drink so much? Like, like it was just wild.
Yeah.
It was just wild. And I could feel myself going back into normal society.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a little bit of this with tuxes. It feels like it's like a 3-day step out from our lives for that. And I'm not saying wild and insane, but just like a different, I mean, how often are you wearing a tux for 3 days? And like,
totally. But there's also, to me, I think this is what is kind of great and awful at the same time is that we experience it as touring comedians. When you do a tour and you're truly gone for, I think the most I ever did was 5 months.
Yeah.
I never came back the way I didn't leave for that 5 months, and my perception was like, well, I'll go and work for 5 months and this is gonna be a fun adventure and then I'll come back. I didn't come back because that place you go to, and I think a little bit about Flight of the Navigator.
Love it.
But when you leave,
you don't even have to.
And you come back, for instance, in that movie, he comes back and time has changed. And he hasn't changed.
He went into a ditch. He came out. It was 8 years later.
And it's 8 years later. To me, it's like, but when you leave, you can't. It's like hometown gone for too long. You can't. It's not the same place. Right. The people aren't in the same spot. Things kept moving and evolving and changing. And so when you come back, you're a changed person, and and it's beautiful. But there is also this slight tinge of tragedy to it. And I feel that every time I go on the road. It's less so now because I don't want to be away from my wife and kid for as long, but my perception of myself and why I got into stand-up was my love of the like beatnik culture of Jack Kerouac and like going out and being like, I'm an artist, and I go on the road and I show up in the town and I do the show like a fucking traveling medicine show. Like I'm a circus. Like, and I love that all you have is your notebook and you got a microphone and a stand and, you know, a drink and you're just kind of fucking going off into your art and you're just doing it. I love it so much that is in my soul as a thing that I seek.
Yeah.
But it is strange to live that, which is a selfish life while you're living it. Your whole responsibility is yourself. And you go up to, all you have to do is show up at work on time and you can be fucking blitzed and show up to work. But if you do that for, let's say, 2 months and come home, it's very jarring for a while. It's very jarring for me for at least a week or two where I'm like, I don't know my place. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And the moment you give me responsibility, I'm angry. Like, hey, you got to run to the store. No. My job is to sleep until I'm ready and then get coffee and then go to a movie with the opener.
It's Jeremy Renner. You got to go pick out cereal. He's like, no.
Exactly.
You got to watch it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Julia, I got to say thank you so much for this letter. It's so awesome. I'm so glad you found that Zen moment. There's people who go their entire lives and never find it. Even just a slight drop on the tongue. They don't even get that much.
Right.
So remember it. You obviously remembered enough to write this letter. Remember to seek it out constantly. To me, that is life. That is a life worth living. So thank you so much. We wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Rory Scovel
and Daniel Van Kirk.
And we are back.
know you're not
I'm
with
here,
me.
you're there. It's
And
two
we are?
teachers. I'm in, I
And
need you
I'm
here. No, but I need you
I'm
up.
kind of
No, I
thinking
need
that
you
we
up
should
high.
be
No, you're
an
going too low. No, I need you up
octave lower,
high.
an octave lower.
Two teachers. What a great sketch. Two choir teachers having to work to collaborate.
And they're both.
Yeah,
and
but
I'm
one is
telling
slightly
you.
behind. No! One more beat.
Hey, everybody.
Hey!
I'm going to say it to camera. If you don't know, now you do. The Patreon is happening every single week.
Yeah.
So
$5. It's
yeah,
$5.
$5
A month.
And you get follow-up letters.
That's
I always wanna say
$60.
follow-up
That's
letters.
$60 a year for 4 times 54. Do you sometimes think there's 52 weeks, but then you're like, wait, I think it's 54?
216?
2 million.
What?
No, 120 something. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm so tired of it. I'm so
Well, if
tired
it's every
of
week,
life.
it's 52 episodes.
But you're getting 4 extras. So you're getting 8 episodes a month, and all it's costing you is $5 because you're getting 8 on Wednesday throughout the month, and you're getting 8 on Monday throughout the month.
And you get to.
And also, we're doing YouTube now. Folks, there's a lot of things happening. Get on board. But most importantly, if you like what you see and if you like what you hear, I can't stress enough, it is a huge benefit to us over here at Pen Pals Corporation to please pass that on. Tell people, hey, I think you might like this. No assholes. If someone's an asshole, don't even fucking talk about us with them. We don't need them. We hate them.
Yeah.
And hate is a strong word, and that's why I used it.
Unless they're coming out of asshole and they want to hear some
Maybe they're
letters about
changing. Who am
consideration
I?
or,
Who am I to
or
judge?
going F2F.
I'm a guy who constantly
we're here for all that.
backpedals.
So email us if you want to send a letter in, though. You can do that at thepenpalspod@gmail.com, or you can mail us. I'm going to try, Rory. Watch me without looking.
Okay.
It is 5419 Hollywood Boulevard, Suite C, number 121. Did I get it?
Yeah.
That is Los Angeles, California, 90027.
You did it.
I did it.
Wow.
Now you. Well, I mean, not
can't-
today.
you have
we're
a
good.
cheat. We have cheat sheets on the side, guys. We
But I
can't
didn't
remember
look.
these things.
But
I know.
I didn't
That's what I'm
look.
trying to say. When you go, now me, I'm like, I haven't been practicing.
So send us some snail mail, send us an email, and if you are going to send us a letter for the Patreon, you can always do that too. Like, oh, did we just talk about running through the woods and you got lost in the woods, but also found yourself after you killed your friend?
Found
I hope
Jerry
that last part
O'Connell.
didn't happen. You can do that. Just make sure you put in the subject line Patreon. Okay, ready for my letter? Do you have anything you need to plug?
Dude, I didn't give a shit about nothing, dude.
Okay.
Physical
The answer
season
is
1.
yes.
Watch it.
Consumer-
Robbie is on Paramount Plus.
Oh, it is?
Those Who Can't is on HBO Max.
Nice.
Also, Zach Stone is going to be famous. Did you ever watch that Bo Burnham
No,
show? that was
remember
on?
I asked you. I didn't know what people were talking
It's
about.
out now. Zach Stone's going to be famous. I think it's on HBO Max or Paramount Plus. It's on one of the streaming
Just
services.
find it.
Just find
Just
it.
search in your Roku.
Such a funny show. Bo Burnham, absolute genius. Love that guy. So
Maybe-
check
you
out
think
his
we'll
stuff.
ever have him?
No, he'll never do it. You can't even get him.
You don't
can't
think
even,
you'd get Bo to do it?
You can't even get
I don't
him.
like that stinking thinking.
You
from
can't get
I don't
him.
like. I don't like that stinking thinking.
Stinking thinking.
Okay.
That's a great when it's negative. I think you're stinking thinking, right?
And I'm not a fan. I'm not here for it.
Have you heard that before? Or did you just stumble into that?
I've heard it my whole life.
Stinking thinking?
Yes.
I've never heard that.
You've never heard it?
I've never, ever in my life heard stinking thinking. Lissa? Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, now I feel like a weirdo.
Do you know what's funny? We recorded with Sona.
This is when I try to connect with Shanley. Shanley, do a thing. Stinking thinking. Do people know it?
You guys not ripped, but you were so weirded out by the Van Kirk family reading greeting cards. But then we sit down every week and read letters out loud.
But that's different.
Okay, because it's not about us.
Yeah.
Okay.
We just talk
Here we
about
go.
it.
Dear Raniel and Dory.
No, I don't hate it.
I think
You
I
don't
do.
hate it either.
Okay.
You're getting 90% of the first name.
It's true. I discovered you guys through your appearance. Oh, my plug, really quick, because I'll get yelled at.
Yeah.
Is DanielVanKirk.com. Tons of digital shows. And I can't say this enough, which is I'm going to say it directly to you. It's literally fun.
It's
you know
literally
Rory
fun.
and I. We wouldn't do it if it wasn't. There's almost nothing we do that isn't fun. And the things that
Yeah.
aren't fun, we make fun. Even stuff you told me you do with your daughter, you're like, yeah, we had to, but I turned it into a game.
Yeah.
So that's literally what these all are. So if you ever want to play bingo or you want to get together for some camp games or some Jackbox
Just try
trivia
it out.
or
What if
all
you
that
love
stuff,
it?
I know that I'm hawking a lot, but what I'm really hawking is just a good time. It's all at DanielVanKirk.com, and then I have live shows, hopefully starting back up in March, and I hope you come hang out with me. All right, ready?
Yes, Quinn.
Dear Raniel and Dory, I discovered you guys through your appearance on Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, and I have to say, I instantly fell in love with you two cackling idiots. I'm a Penny, working on becoming a paler, although I am listening to episodes in backwards chronological order. It's been fun hearing inside jokes, then discover the origins of them. Today, I got a Facebook memory from a year ago. This is why I love our cameo we started out with, and you mentioned Soul. Today, I got a Facebook memory from a year ago of me ranting about how fucking incredible Disney Pixar's movie Soul is, and thought I should do some ranting about it. Some more ranting about it. Holy cow. This movie and its message absolutely floored me. I'm a professional musician, a saxophonist, and someone who constantly forgets to focus on everyday, ordinary living. In both my personal and professional life, I often find myself fixating on what comes next instead of stopping to enjoy where I'm at currently. When I first saw the movie, I was barely holding it together during the last 20 minutes and ugly cried when the end title card came up. The score is also incredibly beautiful, and I was thrilled it won the Academy Award for Best Original Score. Big props to Trent Reznor. I mean, have we seen someone where they started and then what they are now? It's insane to me. I mean, what he did on Gone Girl alone. Big props to Trent Reznor, Atticus Ross, and John Baptiste. I think this was the first time I had seen a movie that felt like it was looking through the screen and speaking directly to me, like it had been made with me in mind. It was a beautiful, moving experience and was the exact right movie I needed to see at that moment in my life. Have either of you ever had this experience of feeling like a piece of art, film, music, literature, etc., was made specifically for you? If so, what was it? I know Rory is a big fan of Hoosiers and Back to the Future, and Daniel loves Stand By Me. That's putting it mildly. I'm commentating on some of this, but would love to hear you guys explore this idea. Thanks for all the laughs and the deep, heartfelt, thoughtful moments. I wish you well. Your pen pal, Matt.
Can I jump right in?
Of course.
What do you think it is about you being Matt, Stand By Me being Soul? What do you think it is? How old were you when you saw Stand By Me?
The first time?
Yes.
Maybe 8.
Did it grab you the very first time?
No, I just knew it was fun. You know how kids just watch a movie?
Because they went on an
adventure. I was
adventure.
talking about this about Empire Records. Nothing really ever happens in Empire Records, and all of a sudden at the end they save the record store, right? Yeah. But you're more watching it at a life where the fun and games of the script of the movie, you're enjoying watching it. Yeah. You don't really know what it's about, and it doesn't really matter.
That's a little bit of Tarantino for me. Like when Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson are just in a car talking about fucking burgers, you're like, I could listen to this for 1 hour.
Right.
And it's not...
Oh, Hateful Eight. Hateful Eight is, I don't...
The conversations.
Yes. Yeah. So, I'm sure at that point I was like, wow, got boys on a trip doing whatever they want to do. So and then
2 questions.
16, 17.
So 16, 17 is when it really hit you. And what do you think it was? What do you think? Like, why do you think at that moment in your life that movie had this thing that grabbed you? Like, what do you think?
It was about... it's still to the same thing.
Yeah.
Gordy and Chris Chambers.
What if you forgot the character names? We're like, what? Danny, it's your favorite.
I almost said River Phoenix.
Doherty. We're like, it's not Doherty.
I just know. I just start describing Goonies, and you're like, oh my God, he doesn't.
And then you go,
no.
Oh wait, no, I love Goonies. You don't even know your favorite movie. Like, dude, you're talking about Forrest Gump right now. No, that's Stand By Me. No, it isn't.
When them doing what they want with their life.
Yeah.
When Chris tells him, you're not going to roll in the dumb kid classes, you're gonna get into the college courses.
Yeah, that just resonated with you.
And he goes, it's like, I could get emotional talking about it. It's like when he's like, it's like God gave something to you, kid. And he said, here, try not to screw it up.
Yeah.
And so you better go do the thing that makes you happy and you were born to do.
Yeah.
That, and then at the end, when he goes, Chris did get out. He enrolled in the college courses with me, and he stuck it out like everything else. And then he died.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. So,
I would love someone to be upset about that. Leave a comment.
If somebody has.
Hey, thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, Lissa hasn't seen it.
Lissa.
So...
It doesn't even matter because when you finally watch it, you don't even remember the characters that he was just talking about.
So then,
you'll be like, "Wait,
you know what I'll tell you? It won't matter." So then, I think that stuff of like, it doesn't matter where you came from, it doesn't matter like what's weighing you down.
Yeah,
you can what do you want to go do? Or you can end up like Vern and Teddy and just kind of be people around town.
Well, that's what I wonder, because I wonder if it had such an impact on you, because I feel like maybe that connection you made was one small town, and you were like, oh, like, because there is this thing in this culture of like, whenever you see something about a small town, people are like, and I'm going to get out of this town. Almost like you can't, like, you and I right now are like, well, then just get out of the town. Well, then just get in your car and drive out of the town. Like, for instance, if you're like, I got to get out of Rochelle, you're like, literally, you could drive to Chicago very soon. Like, you could be in a city where stars,
even if there's bad traffic, less than 2 hours.
Stars are made and born and live. You can just be there.
Yeah, you want to go have a drink with Michael Shannon tonight? Go to the Ale House.
Like, it's still, people are like, I think about it all the time with Friday Night Lights when people are like, yeah, but I'm trapped in this town. Like, I've always been like, yes, money is obviously a resource.
But isn't that why we are who we are? And if we were someone else, we would completely understand what it means to feel trapped in a town.
I think. Well, but the thing
like,
is,
it's hard for us to say like, you're not fucking trapped, because we're not trapped people.
No, but here's what I mean to say by it is that I think while I'm sitting here saying the absurdity of being trapped in your town, it's not that I think it's totally absurd. I think there is something about it where, you know, I didn't feel like I would stay in my hometown. And so I didn't know necessarily how to get out of there until I decided to try stand-up. To me, there's some element in Stand By Me where you said, well, I'm in a small town. I relate to these characters. And this guy's saying you have something, so you should go do it. And like, there's this part of you that was like, I think I'm funny. I think that when I'm with a group, I'm funny, and I know that I have charisma, and I know that I can talk to people. Thanks. And I think maybe that's the thing that maybe what I'm taking from this is just the confidence of saying, well, I'm going to absorb it as though he's saying that to me, and I'm going to go do it. And then you decided to go do it.
Have you ever gone through the screen and was just made for you or talking right to you?
So that's why I was curious when
I've
it
had this happen
hit you.
Multiple times.
17, like if you said all that hit you at 8, I'd go, you're beyond your years. You're an old soul. But to say it like 16 or 17, I would say it makes sense. Like for me, Dark Side of the Moon had a huge impact on me as an album, because not only did I really like something that I knew was cool, and I knew people knew Pink Floyd, and I knew, oh, this is a classic band, but I was around 16 years, 15, 16, where I listened to it and I felt like I really kind of got the message of what they were saying as someone who, you know, had to read poems in class and had no fucking clue what the teacher was talking about when they broke down what the person was saying.
But you're like, money is
when
a
someone
gas.
looked at a painting and said, this is what they're saying, I was just always like, how do you fucking know? I don't see that. I don't see the code that other people are seeing in all these
you're
things.
talking to a guy who can't see magic eye painting, so
exactly.
I get it. Yeah.
And so with Dark Side of the Moon, I was like, oh, I do get it, but also I now understand that even if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter, because this album, particularly the first like 4 songs of it, are so message impactful to me that I go, oh, I'm gonna do that. I'm not gonna sit around and wait. I'm not gonna be a person who goes, yeah, I never heard the Starting Gun. I'm not gonna wait for it. I'm gonna go and take it, because I don't want to look back and 10 years have gone by. I want to actually go for the thing I think that maybe is worth trying to do. And so it spoke to me. And the only reason I bring that up is because I while we don't know the nitty gritty of the details,
well, you loved Soul
of the letter here. I thought Soul was so great, but and there's a part of me that's wondering, Matt, you know, because these revelations come at any time in your life, that maybe Matt felt something similar to this space, you know, when he watched that movie, and he said, I connected with it in a way or I needed it at that particular time in my life for whatever reason, you know.
Have you had anything since
of connections like that
where you're like, whew, that floored me, or that?
I don't know. I think, I mean, you know, I've been watching Encanto with Elliot.
What's that?
It's the new Disney movie.
Oh, yeah.
The soundtrack is amazing, and the story is about generational trauma, and you start to watch it from that perspective and really think about it that way. You really go, oh, well, what are generational trauma? Because there's no way around it. Like, every single one of us could sit here and go, oh, here's a generational trauma from my family. There is something that, you know, the Van Kirks do that is a part of Rosemary's youth, and you don't know it. And Rosemary doesn't know that she's passed it on. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a drama or trauma.
Right.
It could be anything. But I would say the majority of people have a thing that is like, oh, well, this is a thing in our family and we don't recognize it because it's actually a trauma that has been passed on kind of thing. It's all in that movie, and I think it's absolutely fantastic and amazing. But, that really spoke to me recently to overanalyze stuff like that. But, and I know I've already brought this up, but I got to say, just doing all the painting that I'm doing, being off of my phone,
You're
I realize
creating that art, though, but you're creating.
But
that
in
art.
creating it, you get into this mental space, and I realize, every night that I go out to the garage to paint, and let's say I'm out there for 2 hours, it's only occurring to me when I go, God, I just feel better. I realize that I'm off my phone for 2 hours with music playing, letting my mind wander, and then getting into bed, cleaning up, and then getting into bed to go to bed. And
Don't clean up.
I don't want to. Jordan doesn't. Don't even get me started.
Okay.
But I go to bed and I go, I feel better. Not that it's just being off the phone, but being in that space. So it's caused me to have these own personal revelations of going, I really need the way, Matt, I needed soul. I needed that story right now in my life. I think I'm in a space of going, I needed to discover that I really like painting, and I needed to discover it at this point in my life.
Yeah.
Like, do you think there's a little bit of you're not actually steering the boat and you just kind of end up at these docks?
God, I hope not.
Like in 5 years, no, but I don't mean like you're not steering in the sense of you don't have control of your life, but you're not steering in the sense of out of nowhere 5 years from now, and you're going to hate this example, but Daniel just loves the art of a tiki bar. But
why would I hate that?
But you know what I mean? Like we're to the point where you go, I think I want to own a bar. Like, but you go, yeah, but 5 years ago, Daniel, that's not the path you're on or care. Yeah. That's what I mean. In sense of you going subconsciously, you didn't arrive at that. You just go, yeah, I don't know. Something clicked. I mean, truly for me, something clicked. And I then became obsessed with golf. Something clicked. I wasn't seeking it out. I didn't seek it out in any form whatsoever. Something just happened. And when people were like, why do you love golf so much? I honestly am like, I know that I do like it, but I don't know how I arrived at this point. You can correct me on this,
but I would say it's outside of your commitments and your loves and your relationships. It is the number 2 thing in your life after comedy. That it's another thing you found that you're like, I would pour into this.
Yeah. I love games.
I know.
But I love sports.
But those are general. But
I mean, arriving at a thing that I was kind of like ho-hum about.
Yeah.
For something to click and go, I really love it. I didn't. But you do have it. You have it in the things that you're passionate about.
The cabin?
But you didn't seek them out. You didn't like go, I want to really get into cabins. Like let's say Rosemary
never bought it
today goes, hey, I just remembered I inherited a cabin that I've had this property and I actually kind of forgot about it. And then suddenly you're obsessed with restoration of cabins. And it's just because you were like, you know what? I think I'm going to surprise Rosemary this Christmas. And I'm going to fucking deck out that cabin that she didn't even know she owned just because you want to bring her to it. But in the process of doing that, where your target was just to make your grandmother happy, you were like, I love building
I think this is my
tables.
Yeah.
And like a point where we're like, Dana, how many tables did you build this year? And you're like, I built 100 tables. And everyone's like, but why? And you're going, I'm not totally steering the boat. I just found it because of this other thing, you know?
Yeah. Can I tell you another movie?
Always.
25th Hour. And I know I mentioned it.
That's Edward Norton?
Yeah. Edward Norton, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Barry Pepper, Rosario Dawson, Brian Cox.
Bear Pep?
Yeah.
Bear spray? Pepper
Spike Lee movie.
Yeah, that's right.
That motivated me in a way that changed my life.
I've never seen
movie. It. Yeah, it really. I was like, okay.
Have you seen it recently? Does it hold up?
As far as I know from like hearing recent other reviews of it, it still holds up very well. And the last time I watched it, it holds up really well. It's just, really like another one. Oh, La La Land. The end of La La Land.
Yeah.
Really, at the time I was in a not good relationship, and you watched these two people, spoiler alert, in 3, 2, 1, go after everything they want in life, but not keep each other.
Yep.
And they both find success.
Tragically beautiful.
But don't keep each other. And
That's
at the end, they both know it, and they're okay with it. I've asked this people a lot. After they see each other
at the club
and smile, kind of knowingly, hey, smile to each other. How long do you think that affects them after that moment? And my guess is by the next morning when they wake up, they're fine.
That's interesting.
But I bet like going home and like that night, I was like, wow, yeah, that. But then by the next morning, she's got the kids and he's got to do stuff for the club, and they just kind of move on. But like they had this moment of like, you got there too.
Yeah,
but we didn't get there together.
I think I feel it differently.
Yeah,
I don't think I see it.
That's what's great about it.
Yeah, of course. Well, any good art, I think. But I think for me, it's like this recognition of smiling at each other, being like, hey, we did this thing. But I think you kind of see in their eyes that they're also going, well, what did matter? Like what was
Well, you get to see the
important.
You get to see the alternate universe too, even, which is beautiful.
Yeah. To me, that is like what's so interesting to me is that like sort of like, well, what could have been, and that's sort of
but it's okay.
the tragic beauty of life is that you don't really get to know. You just make these decisions and you have to just go with them, and that's just what it is. Mm-hmm. But you can keep going. You might not. You can't start over. You don't get to start over. Mm-hmm. You can keep going, and you can figure out where you're going to get to. But I think what brings tears to my eyes at that ending is that I do sense this little bit of tragedy of, the dream. My dream wasn't all that I wanted it to be, and it wasn't more important than the thing I had. And the thing I had it. But because I couldn't stop chasing the dream, I had to sacrifice the thing I already had and knew.
And they both kind of know it before she goes off to France.
Yeah,
that they both kind of know, like, well, you'll do great out there,
right?
And yeah,
it's also kind of interesting too to be like, the fact that they both get to have their thing in the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
I think it's less of an interesting story if it's only one of them and the other person is like, well, I guess you left, made a choice and you left. It's more
I think you wouldn't see
interesting
that they
see
both
a double
made a smile.
Right.
You would see a like.
Yeah, you see the other person being broken.
Yeah.
I mean, like, that really mattered to me.
Yeah.
I had you. I don't have a thing I'm chasing.
Right.
So there is some sort of soft landing in the sense of going, yeah, but you did get this. But that's what I wonder. I wonder, do they wake up the next morning going, oh, I should have kept what I had,
Yeah.
And now she's got to date Tom Everett Scott, who is the brother-in-law of one of my friends, and he's a real pill. The friend, not Tom Everett Scott. Who is it? You're welcome to come on to the show. I'm literally kissing any ass possible to get guests.
The last
Tom, you want to come on, Tom?
The last thing I'll touch on for me in terms of this as well is My Morning Jacket.
Yeah.
It's the only time I've ever realized, like, oh, that's why somebody's been to 27 Bruce Springsteen concerts.
Yeah.
Because the music he makes, the arrangement of the sounds and the lyrics,
it's a drug.
It speaks directly to that person. No matter what he does, the way he processes art and then distributes it is the way they receive art and express what it does to them.
Yeah.
And so he's their artist.
Yeah.
And I am not that. I mean, I love pretty much anything Sinatra sings. It's just fucking amazing.
Yeah,
to me. I've said this I think before, but Sinatra says Joey Bishop's nobody's funnier than him.
Yeah.
In their group, right, the Rat Pack, and then Dean has by far the best voice, and nobody has more talent than Sammy Davis Jr. So whatever you want to do, he can do as good or better than you.
Yeah.
And then he goes, but when I sing, you really think it happened to me.
Yeah.
And that's the most powerful fucking thing of all, because he can take the art and make it his own, and then you go, I think that guy really did go into a bar and need one for his baby and one for the road. And if you've ever seen him, if I could beg pen pals to check out something on YouTube that isn't this show, watch footage of him singing that show live. They do it, Rory, as a play almost.
Yeah.
He turns around, he comes back, he's got a cigarette, he's a little shaky on his feet.
Yeah.
He sings it as he acts it. It's like a perfect musical.
Yeah.
And then they take the lights down as he fades away at the end of the song, and you're like, oh, so I just saw theater.
Yeah.
I just saw I didn't just go to a concert. I just saw theater. But so obviously I love that as well. But for My Morning Jacket, like when I listen to The Waterfall, which is one of their more recent albums,
Yep.
I'm like, every fucking song on this makes me feel something.
Yeah.
Is an expression of something I wish I had said to somebody, or think I should say, or things I have said, or things I wish people would say to me.
Yeah.
It's like magic.
Yeah.
But that's their art for me, and somebody else has that art with
And their
Tool
interpretation
or
of it.
Fish,
Right,
or
yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's the other one for me too.
Well,
I'm like,
two things, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay.
But Bruce Springsteen doing that Broadway show. Did you watch that on Netflix?
No.
So he did a Broadway presentation where he did some songs, but he told stories about where he came from. I won't give anything away, but very early into the show, which is incredible. It's a one-man show on Broadway.
Or just say the end of Stand By Me to Lissa.
Yeah, and then he's on stage and he talks about, he's like, being in factories. I wrote songs about all these things. About he goes, or you could be a kid from New Jersey who wrote all these songs about blue collar life in factories as someone who never stepped foot in a single one of them. And he goes, and that's just the truth. He goes, I just wrote songs about them. He goes, but I'm not the person of all these things. And you're like, that's incredible. But there's someone who goes, yeah, but I identified with it for so long. To me, it's like, but isn't there some kind of power and respect and something in the fact that someone can see your life so well that they were able to write something that you were like, I relate to that. That's my life. And that person goes, I've never done a day of it. I have no clue what it's like to work overtime. I have no clue what it's like to work with my hands. I have no clue what it is to do any of those things. But I watched people do it, and I lived in a community, New Jersey, lived in the state of New Jersey.
Workers. They were the grocery
fucking
store.
factory
They were at
workers.
church. They
That
were
lifestyle,
next door.
that hard-edged lifestyle. I was able to write about it because I saw it my whole life, and I made songs about it that you really fucking identify with. To me, that's it's so powerful and absolutely incredible. And the second thing was, because my buddy Jason is friends with Tom Everett Scott, when Tom Everett Scott shot La La Land and was there just the one day for that one scene for the ending, he said Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone could not have been nicer to him and more curious with questions about that thing you do than anything else. He was like, it's like I showed up and they were like, dude, you're a celebrity. He was like, what?
Tom Everett Scott Day.
Tom Everett Scott was like, wait, what? You're Emma Stone and you're Ryan Gosling? And they're like, dude, shut up. That thing you do. What? There's so many questions for him that he was just like floored by it. I think that's just such a funny little detail about that scene. But this is great. This is a great letter.
Agreed. Thank you so much for sending it in, Matt. And if you're listening to this and you have art that's affected you or you're an artist, you can always email us and it might end up on a Patreon episode. Just make sure you put that in the headline. Until then, thank you. We wish you well. Sincerely, your pen pals, Daniel Van Kirk
And Rory Van Scovel.
What is that?
All right. The Chicago Bulls.
What were you doing? Well, now, maybe you might be right because it's left my mind.
Your Chicago Bull.
I know.
Eye in the sky.